There is a specific kind of silence that arrives before your life changes, not peaceful, not empty, but loaded. Like the 2 seconds before lightning strikes when the air itself holds its breath. You've been living inside that silence lately, haven't you? And the strange part is, you can't tell anyone. Because the moment you try to explain it, the words come out wrong. It's not anxiety. It's not hope. It's something that sits exactly between the two. Something your body understands before your mind can catch up. That feeling is not nothing. That feeling is data. Most people will never understand what you're experiencing right now, because most people have been trained to dismiss internal signals the moment they can't name them. They call it overthinking. They call it imagination running wild. They scroll past it, sleep it off, and wake up confused about why their life keeps producing the same results year after year. But you're still here. And the fact that you're still here means something in you already knows that what you're feeling is worth paying attention to. Here's what neuroscience actually tells us about this experience. Your brain processes approximately 11 million bits of information per second. Your conscious mind handles roughly 40 of those bits. The rest, the overwhelming majority of what your nervous system picks up, gets processed below the surface, in the subconscious, in the body, in what you call instinct, when something in your environment is shifting, when relationships are changing their texture, when opportunities are moving in your peripheral vision, when patterns around you are quietly rearranging. Your nervous system detects those changes before you have language for them. What you experience as a feeling that something is coming is not mystical. It is your pattern recognition system working at full capacity. It is 11 million bits of data summarized into one quiet signal. Pay attention. The problem is not that people can't feel these signals. The problem is they don't know what to do with them. So they either catastrophize, assuming the worst is approaching, or they dismiss entirely and wait for something obvious to announce itself. Both responses are wrong. Both responses are expensive. The catastrophizer wastes energy fighting shadows. The dismisser misses the window entirely. The person who actually wins in unexpected moments is the one who learned to do something neither of those groups ever does. They learn to stay present without reaching for certainty. They learn to hold the signal without crushing it under the weight of needing an explanation. Think about what happens to water just before it boils. For a long time, most of the time, there is no visible change. The water looks exactly the same as it always did. But underneath the surface, heat is transferring. Molecules are accelerating. Energy is accumulating. Then one specific moment arrives and the whole surface erupts, an outside. Observer would call it sudden, but anyone who was measuring temperature the entire time would call it inevitable. That is precisely what is happening in your life right now. The surface looks the same. The accumulation is not. And here is what no one in your immediate circle is going to tell you, not because they're holding back, but because they genuinely cannot see it. The friction you've been feeling lately, the places where your old routines suddenly feel tight, the conversations that used to satisfy you but now feel shallow, the goals that seemed important 6 months ago but now feel oddly hollow. That isn't a crisis. That's pressure. And pressure of that kind only builds in one direction, outward. Something is expanding inside you and your current container no longer fits. The discomfort you're calling confusion is actually growth that has outpaced its environment. That's not a problem to be fixed. That's a threshold to be crossed. Here's where most people make a critical mistake at this exact stage. They interpret the friction as evidence that something is wrong with them. They start auditing themselves. They ask why they can't just be satisfied, why they keep feeling restless, why success in one area of life doesn't quiet the dissatisfaction in another. And the more they audit, the more paralyzed they become, because the audit never produces an answer that feels sufficient. The restlessness doesn't come from a flaw, it comes from a direction. And the direction it's pointing is not inward toward what you're missing, it's outward toward what you haven't yet become. There's a specific behavioral shift that happens to people in the weeks and months before a major life change, and researchers who study adult development have documented it consistently. People start editing their yes, quietly, without announcement, without even full awareness. They stop agreeing to things that previously felt obligatory. They start letting conversations end without forcing resolution. They begin to notice which environments fill them and which ones drain them. And without consciously deciding anything, they start choosing differently. If this has been happening to you, if you've noticed that your tolerance for certain situations has quietly, almost involuntarily, reduced, that is not antisocial behavior. That is selective energy allocation. Your system is getting ready for something that will require your full capacity. It's pulling resources away from things that no longer merit the investment. The hardest part of this stage is the not knowing. The signal is clear, the destination isn't. And your mind, rational, efficient, exhausted, will do everything in its power to shortcut the uncertainty by grabbing the nearest familiar explanation and locking in. I'm probably just burnt out. This is just a phase. Nothing is actually about to change. I should be more realistic. Every one of those explanations is your mind choosing comfort over accuracy. And the cost of that trade-off is enormous, because the way you interpret this moment determines how you'll move through it. Interpret it as dysfunction, and you'll try to suppress it. Interpret it as signal, and you'll start listening. So let's talk practically about what listening actually looks like, not as a spiritual concept, but as a cognitive skill you can develop right now. The first step is to stop asking what is going to happen and start asking what is already changing. These are completely different questions that produce completely different levels of awareness. What is going to happen points your attention into a future you can't access. What is already changing points your attention to the present, where the actual information lives. Right now, in your existing relationships, your existing environment, your existing daily patterns, something is already different. It may be subtle, but it's there. The people you're spending time with are shifting. Your emotional response to certain situations has changed. The things you're drawn to read, watch, and think about have quietly shifted. If you map those changes clearly, you won't be predicting your future, you'll be describing it. Because the future is already forming in the present, exactly the way clouds form before rain. The second practical shift is to stop treating uncertainty as a problem you need to solve before you can move. Most people function on a model where clarity must precede action. Feel clear then. Decide. Know the outcome, then commit. But this model fails at exactly the moments that matter most, because the most significant changes in anyone's life come with the least guaranteed clarity. The people who actually navigate unexpected transitions well are the people who have developed tolerance for ambiguity, not by becoming comfortable with chaos, but by developing trust in their own capacity to adapt. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You need to be willing to take the step that's in front of you while knowing you're capable of finding your footing on the next one. Here is the thing about unexpected surprises that almost no one articulates clearly. The surprise is never actually about the event. The event is just the catalyst. The real surprise, the one that reorganizes everything, is discovering who you are in response to the unexpected. Because every time something you didn't plan for arrives in your life, it reveals a version of you that your comfortable circumstances were hiding. The challenge exposes capability you didn't know you had. The disruption surfaces resilience you had built through previous difficulty without ever receiving credit for it. The opportunity, and it will arrive as an opportunity even when it initially looks like something else, entirely shows you that you are capable of holding more than your current life has asked you to hold. That's what this moment is actually about, not preparation for an event. Preparation of a self. The external circumstances will shift when they shift, and they will not consult your timeline. But the internal readiness, the sharpened attention, the expanded capacity, the willingness to respond rather than react, that is something you build now. Not dramatically, not through grand gestures or wholesale reinvention. Through daily choices to be present to what's actually happening rather than what you fear might be happening. Through the decision, again and again, to interpret your own experience as information rather than threat. Slow your response time by 2 seconds in every situation that would normally trigger an automatic reaction. Not because slowness is the goal, but because in those 2 seconds lies the difference between pattern-driven behavior and intentional choice. Before you answer, pause. Before you agree, pause. Before you conclude, pause. In that space, you will find something that fast-moving, constantly stimulated, information-saturated life rarely offers. You will find your actual instinct beneath the noise. And your actual instinct, calibrated by everything you've survived and everything you've built, is a far more reliable guide than you've been giving it credit for. Whatever is approaching, and something is approaching, the signal is too consistent to dismiss it, will not arrive as most people imagine. It won't knock with fanfare. It will arrive in the form of a conversation you almost didn't have, an idea you almost set aside as impractical, a connection that seemed coincidental until suddenly the shape of it became clear. It will require you to be attentive. It will reward you for having been paying attention during the months when nothing seemed to be happening. And when it arrives, the readiness you built in this quiet, uncertain, between everything moment will be the reason it doesn't just pass through your life, it transforms it. Stay present. Stay observant. Not out of anxiety, not out of urgency, but out of respect for the process that's already in motion inside you. The calm before a change is not empty time. It is the most important time. And you are not waiting, you are preparing. There is a difference, and that difference is the entire distance between a life that happens to you and a life that happens because of you. If this landed with you not as hype, not as comfort, but as something that sharpened your thinking, then stay connected. Not because you need more content, but because the kind of clarity this builds compounds. And compound clarity is the rarest advantage anyone can have.